From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to Beat the Champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Paul Peck, along with Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky, and welcome to this special edition of Beat the Champ. We have had a lot of fun over the last 5 years, taking this sport to another level, seeing all the outstanding bowlers in Western New York, and seeing the reaction from the bowling community has been great as well.
Absolutely. There's so many great bowlers in this community that don't do this for a living, but still come out here and perform on the weekends as if they do it for a living. And, and as far as the community goes, I get so much input from everyone, and we have seen so many great matches throughout the years that it's fun to actually look back and see a couple of them from time to time.
All right, so here we go. It's the best of Beat the Champ. Match number one is the always fashionable Tim Frenz taking on Kevin Volker, and that'll get us started here for this week's show at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Tim Frenz coming off 2 wins in a row down in Jamestown, allowing him to make the trip back up to Western New York here where he lives. He's from Williamsville, and bowl a little closer to home and try to keep that winning streak alive. And here we go with another fun month here on Beat the Champ at the Tonawanda Bowling Center, and we're off and rolling.
Well, it took Tim a little bit of time to get that title
Pick his
under
outfit out?
belt. Well, remember, we could make the show, I think 20 some times and not have to have a different outfit.
Yes,
We'll have to
yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of outfits like this in his closet.
Bonus points on the coordination, although I do feel like he might have borrowed this from the recently competed Triple Crown, and maybe left over from one of the jockeys.
It does have that look to it.
Yes, it does. So a spare in the first frame for Tim Frenz after leaving that 4-pin, and now we get our first look at Kevin Volker. Been a little while since we've had Kevin Volker on the show. We got to go all the way back to early 2018 when Kevin last competed on the show at the Kearns Avenue Bowling Center. He is from right here in Tonawanda, bowls a lot here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Still looking for his first Beat the Champ victory.
Yeah, well, sometimes it takes a little time to get acclimated to all that's going on, and just like I was starting to say about Tim, same thing. But it's nice to feel comfortable, and when you're bowling in a bowling center, that you know the approaches, you know how the lane breaks down. There's that nice comfort level there.
Yeah, and this is home for Kevin Volker. This is his home bowling center, as we mentioned, and of course, for all the details on the show and on the bowlers themselves, at Beat the Champ is the place to go on Twitter, hashtag Beat the Champ, and of course, like us on the Facebook page. Everything you need to know about the show is right there on the Facebook page, including schedules for the next 3 venues that we'll be at here on the show, so you can plan your summer.
Yeah,
right
feel
now,
free to come out and watch.
Kevin Volker planning the early summer with a great start, a pair of strikes.
Again, we're talking a little bit about that comfort zone, and when you feel like you know the lanes, I'll tell you, many times in my career, I've always felt better in places that I know.
It is a synthetic surface here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. We talk a lot about that. We always want to make sure everybody knows what kind of surface the bowlers are dealing with.
Great shot
and
there.
We'll talk a little bit more about what has proven to be a rather challenging oil pattern.
Get the crowd going?
Yes, well, Tim's good at that.
You know, one thing about synthetics, and the lanes themselves can be synthetic, and there's a choice then to make the approach is wood or the approach is synthetic. And you'll often find wood approaches left, even though they've changed the lanes to synthetic, because of the bowlers, their shoes, sticky factors in that. We have wood approaches here. Synthetic approaches can be very trying.
Tough 4-7 leave there for the 31-year-old from Williamsville, Tim Frenz, as he tries to follow up that strike. He was incredibly consistent in winning the last 2 matches 2 weeks ago down in Jamestown, 227, 226. It only gets slightly more consistent than that. And again, it was a good breakthrough for Tim, who had lost his first 2 appearances on Beat the Champ, for him to finally come back and get a couple wins. Good spare pickup for Tim, so 2 spares and a strike in his first 3. And Kevin Volker, who is working a couple of strikes to get started with, 33 years old, from Tonawanda, CPA administrator for FedEx is his full-time profession. and literally grown up in this house here, been bowling since he was 4 years old. His father, John, really the inspiration for him to get involved in the sport, and really gives a lot of credit to his dad, who once actually appeared on TV on the old Tops TV Challenge.
That's right.
That was taped right here in Tonawanda. So there's a family tradition of outstanding bowling here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center.
Great.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
If Kevin doesn't strike here, Timmy can make that even in the next frame. But this is Kevin's good lane. He's got this one pretty figured out.
Bowls regularly here on the Tuesday night leagues at Tonawanda. Also bowls another night of the week out in West Seneca at Wimbledon Lanes. And there's a big strike for Kevin as well, too. Last year, won a big doubles tournament with his buddy Pete Maduri, one of our familiar Beat the Champ bowlers, although we always tend to see Pete early in the year because he's busy drag racing this time of year, so we haven't seen Pete in a while. But Kevin's won some pretty high-level stuff, and says an awful lot about him as a 33-year-old bowler with 13 career 300 games and an 836 high series, one of his 800 career series. So now he builds himself a little bit of a lead, trying to capitalize on it, and just rings that around the 10.
Wow, great move there. Figured that one out. Stayed a little bit truer to his angle, and just looked like he threw it a little harder, maybe looked a little further down the lane. What a great shot. It's one of the tricks right there is, moving your eyes a little bit further down the lane when your ball's hooking early. And it almost looks like you're gaining some ball speed, but it pushes the ball further down the lane, and that was a great adjustment there.
All right, so a spare in the 8th frame for Kevin. He's got a pretty good sized lead, but Tim's working on a double, so that's going to disappear very quickly.
Actually, a strike here is going to pull Timmy within pins. Actually give him the ability to go ahead and if he can double.
So he's working 2 in a row on a double, looking for 3 here in frame 8. Got it.
I'll tell you right now, that was well inside his target. He's looking more around this second arrow. That one was pretty much what we would call a frozen rope, just straight up.
It didn't move very much, didn't curve very much, didn't
definitely
turn
knows
very
he caught
much.
a break there. That was definitely
The
inside.
Frozen rope. Nice. Normally a football term, but I'm good to see you work it into some bowling chatter. So now 3 in a row. Tim going to go for 4.
Well, this is for the lead right here.
Oh boy, everything just went flying right around the 4 pin.
That was important because without that strike, he's down 3
Tim
pins.
knows it too, doesn't he?
Yeah,
See the look on his face. But we're down to single pins now, so.
Well, here's the difference. Tim gets to finish on the good lane, and he's still making Kevin.
It's taken us all of 5 minutes to determine which is the good lane and the bad
As
lane.
usual, right?
Never takes very long for us to decide which lane we love and which lane everybody hates.
But as the weeks go on, that could flip-flop. That's another weird thing.
It's true. Right now it's 39 that nobody seems to be loving. All right, so now in a very tight match, Kevin Volker will have the chance to finish things off here, frames 9 and 10. Boy, right down the pipe for Kevin and a big 9th frame strike.
Well, Kevin has not missed on lane 40, and he can shut Timmy out here. Timmy can only go to 226, so he's definitely going to need a strike here and some count. But the first one's important. If he doesn't strike on the first one, Timmy still has an open door.
So a little bit of pressure here on Kevin Volker to finish this match out. See what he does. 10th frame. Oh.
Wow.
You could hear him yelling at it, and it was a little bit of not the most picturesque fall of the pins.
Oh no, that was a mixer. We're going to take that every day of the week.
But it gets him what he needs, and it gets him a victory here. He'll need some more count, right? He'll need some more count, but that may be the decider in this one between Kevin and Tim. So I'm not jumping the gun, not yet.
He needs 9.
Not yet.
He needs 9. 8 would.
I am confident.
8 would be okay too, but he needs to seal it with 9.
Or 10, that'll do it too. And that's going to be a win for Kevin Volker. So a good match to get us started here. Right down, ups, ebbs, and flows. Kevin starts with 3 strikes, and then Tim comes back with 3 in a row. And both guys sort of had some times where they didn't get things working the way they wanted it to, but it's a win. Kevin Volker gets the victory, ends the 2-match winning streak for Tim Frenz, and he'll move on to match number 2. We'll talk to Tim. Get ready for that match when Sue and I return. We are off and rolling here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center on Beat the Champ. 239 to 216, the final score of our first match as Kevin Volker defeats Tim Frenz. That was a good match, lots of back and forths. He starts hot, then you had that nice stretch in the middle of the 3 consecutive strikes. Take me through this match.
Yeah, it was just some good and bad breaks in both directions, and sometimes you end up on the high end of those breaks, and sometimes on the low. And a couple good shots that I thought were good should have been strikes, and then other ones that I didn't like that carried, and the same for him. So it just some days you win, and sometimes you get those breaks, and sometimes you don't.
All right, we'll see you up at Alley Brand. Hopefully, get a new winning streak started.
Yeah, hopefully, I keep going.
All right, we are off and rolling here at Tonawanda. We are set for match number 2. Kevin Volker advances. Volker versus Kress. We'll have that for you coming up next. Match number 2 is Kevin Volker against Tom Kress. And Volker going to try to follow up his first ever Beat the Champ victory with win number 2. Meanwhile, Tom Kress has won on this show before, and if he wins this match, we keep alive the possibilities of a brother versus brother match because his brother Ryan has qualified in our next show. Not if Kevin Volker does a lot of that, particularly on lane 39, he might not get the chance.
He just had to strike out on it, and now he had to open on it. So.
Yep. So Volker, and again, can't underestimate or understate the value of this being a place where Kevin Volker knows, bowls well, and feels incredibly comfortable.
Exactly.
Because of those 2 reasons.
But it did not stop him from moving into the first position and getting away from finishing on lane 39. So.
That, in a nutshell, says exactly how confident he is. And that one, not the way Tom Kress wanted to start things, as it kind of died at the end and leaves him quite a collection of pins on the right-hand side.
Well, what it did is he got it inside of his target because he's a little too deep on the lane, and the ball actually took off on him and definitely dived left on him. He wants his eyes to be further right. If he's going to play in there, he's going to have to move his feet in because that was not the shot that he wants to be using for the rest of this game.
Good spare pickup, though, for Tom. This is his 5th appearance on Beat the Champ. He has won 3 and lost 4. We saw him last time, a couple of months ago, down at Salamanca Central Lanes, where he wound up losing in his last match, his appearance.
There we go. Yeah.
But Tom's one of those guys, probably within the last year, starts to be one of those names that you see on the show almost every month.
Absolutely. It was 2 months since one of the Kress boys have been on the show, and I think for most of the year that one of them or both of them have been pretty consistent to be making the show from month to month.
Yeah.
So they had a 2-month hiatus, but now they're both back.
Yeah, Ryan is the brother, and Ryan's been on, this will be his 6th show. This is Tom's 5th show. Volker comes back with another strike in frame number 2. So the Kress brothers are an interesting story. We'll talk more about that, particularly if Tom is able to win and keep winning, and we may get to a rematch of brother versus brother. But again, in the meantime, Kevin's got something to say about that as you check the early scores on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard.
What's interesting with Kevin is because he's grown up in this center, and this center, because I worked here for quite a few years, this center has been notoriously dry to the outside. And his game actually developed for this bowling center.
Now, it's not to interrupt you, but Kevin just did exactly what Tom did before, which is just kind of get it off, and it dies, and it leaves him that very same picket fence 3-6-10 on the right side.
39 is still a challenge, and make no mistake that those 4 strikes he threw on 39 were great shots. This one didn't get as far down the lane because that's what he's been trying to do to delay that hook, and this one just got away from him and didn't get down the lane the way he wanted. So it's still a challenge, even though he made it look like he's figured it out. It's still a challenge.
Right, so both guys have picked up 3-6-10 spares, which is good. Not good that they left them, but good that they picked them up.
Right.
And so we stay even here as Tom Kress moves to lane 39 for his 3rd frame. Tom is 22 years old. He's from Cheektowaga, full-time student, part-time, this is a dream job here, part-time at Dairy Queen.
That's right.
That's a dream job. Correction, he's over on lane 40, where he's striking. Not sure how he figured out how to get time off at Dairy Queen in order to bowl this month, because you would think they would not give you a lot of time off, but part-time is part-time.
Part-time is part-time.
Right. .210 overall cumulative average for Tom, and he's got a good cheering section here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Totally makes sense because everybody that came out to cheer him on can also stick around and cheer on his brother.
Right.
So he's got mom and he's got dad. Obviously, brother Ryan is here. Tom's sister, his girlfriend, other family and friends are all here cheering him on here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center.
That's good. We can keep that cheering crowd, keep it large.
Yep, yes. All right, the guys are, I was just about to say, they're getting their spare game tested, and then right on cue, Tom is not able to get that single pin spare and leaves an open in the 4th.
Wow, so he just kept that ball in the oil all the way down the lane. So instead of using the dry boards to his right, he kept it in the middle and just hit a wall of oil. Very uncharacteristic.
Ring around the 10 leaves another spare chance here for Kevin Volker.
And I have to tell you, I was just about to say the spare shooting's been great today as well, so.
Oh, sure, so instead of me being the jinx, it could have been, should have been you.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But again, back to Kevin's game developing for this bowling center. He doesn't have an early roll. You almost see his hand position being almost a suitcase when he lets go of the ball. This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
You know, it was funny. We've had some. Oh, that's not what Kevin wanted. There, lane 39 is showing its teeth early on here. What I was going to say was, in looking back through a little bit of the history of our trips here, this is now trip number 4 here to Tonawanda. There are no long winning streaks that have been cultivated or continued or started here at Tonawanda. We've had no 300s on the show. So we've had, Mike Zarcone's been really good here because he's familiar. He bowls. Oh!
Great spare.
What a great spare pickup by Kevin Volker.
Great spare to keep the lead.
My point is that this place has been a bit of a challenge, and there hasn't necessarily, it hasn't been easy for any one particular bowler, and I think the fact that there's no long winning streaks, there's no dominant bowler here, there's no Tonawanda guy, quote unquote, tells you a little bit about what the challenge of this place can be. And the look on the face tells you exactly what Tom Kress's challenge is now, with a rather difficult 6, 7, 10 spare to pick up.
I've always found this house to be, not that I think it's notoriously difficult, but it's challenging in a sense that it's been wet dry over the years. So the dry has been very dry, and the wet has been very wet, which is why Kevin's game matches up very well here. Tom has more roll, so his ball is actually moving right off his hand. Kevin's is not, and that can be a challenge in this place.
Well, you saw the second open for Tom Kress, as that difficult spare was going to be really hard to pick up. So opens in his 4th and 7th for Tom Kress, and frustration again here in the 8th as he's got to get that 4-pin on a single spare. In the meantime, let's see if that incredible spare pickup by Kevin is the momentum and the boost that he needs to get another win here.
Kevin's going to just be tough here, just by nature of, in this case, his game matches up really nicely with this pulling center, and his road is going to be. He's still going to have to make good shots on lane 39, but he's got less challenges than other bowlers will have because of that hand position at the bottom.
Yeah, that 4-pin is not playing along here today. Explain a little more with the hand position at the bottom, at least something for everyone to watch on this next roll by Kevin.
There's different ways people get through the ball as it comes off their hands. Some people roll it early, starts rolling right off your hand. Some people spin it, and that creates more skid through the fronts. And if you just watch it off his hand, you can see that there's no rotation through the front. There's no forward roll through the front, which is why he can stay right to left the way he is. And he's going to be, him able to play lanes like that is going to keep his ball in play without huge moves through the rest of the day.
All right, so
but there's different ways to get through the front of the lane, and everybody's a little bit different.
Good stuff. Good stuff for everybody to watch for. 22-pin lead at the moment for Kevin Volker. And a chance to add to it. Boy, I'll tell you what,
wow.
there have been some leaves in this match that would make people want to run screaming out on the Young Street.
Yeah, but you can't. Like I said, you still have to make good shots on 39. That was just but he didn't do what he did last time because he didn't want to do that again. He overcompensated by doing the exact opposite and pulling it across his body.
All right, so now Kevin facing the 4, 6, 7, 10. He made one incredible spare on. I don't know if he can pull off another one. He cannot.
Well, his advantage, his opponent isn't very lined up. So, he still has his game pretty well in hand.
All right, so now can Tom Kress shake off the 2 opens and find something here?
Tom needs to throw a 3-bagger, so he needs to figure it out.
A little too far right.
Unfortunately for Tom, he looks a little discouraged.
Oh, no question. I think we saw that a couple frames ago. Yep.
He is still in this match. I mean, if he can just figure it out, he is not shut out of this match in any way. In fact, he can shut.
And that's not how you wanted to do it.
No.
Second missed spare, 3rd open in the match. Boy, you're asking for quite the uphill climb to try to win one of these matches.
Here's a perfect example
opens.
of what can happen. Even though your opponent looks like he's got everything going for him, you can't get down on yourself. You got to keep working. Tom looks very discouraged.
Yes, and it just hasn't gotten any luck, and nothing that's really happened the way he wants it to happen or the way it should happen, and then you feel bad for him, and guess who gets to talk to him if he doesn't win this match? That would be me.
You handled worse.
Yeah, that is true. I do have some experience on that front.
Kevin's going to win this match on the bench.
Yeah, tough one for Tom, and again, not the last hope for the Kress family, because brother Ryan will be on next week's show, but not how he wanted it to go, with a 167 on the board for Tom Kress. Meanwhile, Kevin, who's had some ups and downs as well in this match too, is going to get himself a win. 2 in a row for Kevin Volker, and a chance to sweep the week in the third match of the day against Kevin Foss. We will talk to Tom Kress, get you ready for that match when Sue and I and Janelle return. It's Beat the Champ at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. More right after this. 186 to 167, Kevin Volker over Tom Kress. Tom, we can all feel for you as we're watching. It was a frustrating match for you. How hard is it to keep your emotions in check? We could see it on your face. I think, you know, maybe you got down on yourself a little bit. Is that something that you, as relatively young bowler at the level that you're bowling, still trying to figure out a little bit?
Yeah, I usually take it pretty hard on myself. I mean, I lost by 20 pins, missed 2 easy spares. There's the game right there, 4 pin and a 10 pin. So make your spares, I win that match, and who knows, but it is what it is.
Yeah, what kind of advice do you have for your brother, who we're going to see on next week's show?
Make your spares, throw it good, he'll be fine.
Make spares, there you go. I like the in-depth analysis. Well, Tom, we've seen an awful lot of you here lately on the show. It's always good to see you. Hopefully we get a little more of you. So,
thanks.
All right, we got one more match coming up. Stick around. Our final match of the day from here in Tonawanda is coming up next. Match number 3 is Kevin Volker looking for his 3rd consecutive win. The opponent will be Curtis Foss. More on Curtis in just a moment, but Kevin Volker, who we said had not won on our show, has now evened up his record, 2 wins and 2 losses, thanks to the 2 wins in a row. And I'm sure Kevin Sue will tell you that anytime you can bowl a 186 and come out of there with a win,
Yeah.
You thank your lucky stars and you say, well, who's the next opponent? Let me see if I can't get it fixed. And that looks like he's got it fixed.
Right, he switched balls now. That's transition. As the lanes change, you got to make changes with it. So he's been able to change balls and stay in the same place, which is always nice when you can do that.
Here's the opponent, Curtis Foss, 31 years old, from Medina, New York, making his 5th appearance here on Beat the Champ. His first roll is a strike. 2 wins and 4 losses so far on the show for Curtis. Last time we saw him was at Transit Lanes a couple of months ago. But beyond these 2 bowlers, we are incredibly excited to welcome in a very special guest, one of the all-time greats, the first ever professional bowler from here in Western New York, and someone that I know means an awful lot to you. I'm going to let you handle talking to your buddy Jimmy Schroeder here. Jimmy, thank you. What an honor it is to have you on the show.
Well, it's an honor to be here, Paul. I enjoyed the show very much.
Thank you very much.
Like watching it.
Oh, that one got away from him. So, Jimmy, I've known you for a long time, and you know, when I came into this place, you were doing the clinic here on Tuesdays, but you've actually been coaching almost as long as you were bowling.
Yeah, I like to coach, and I did a lot of instructing. I enjoyed teaching people how to bowl, and had a lot of fun doing it. We were very good at Tonawanda Bowling Center. They're very good people to work with, and a lot of good bowlers come through here.
Now, I read that you coached on an international level as well, so you have been coaching for nationally, internationally?
Oh yeah, I work around the world, really, a lot of places, France, or Germany, and England, and Canada, Mexico, Japan, Far East.
Wow, it's exciting that bowling can take you so many places like that.
Well, in those days, we did a lot of traveling. I made the Far East. I did the tour for the services in the Far East. We visited about 30 countries, and all the servicemen. We did the World Falstaff team. I was with the Falstaff team. I was one of the members.
Right.
And we toured the Far East.
Wow.
For the U.S. Services. That was
So,
a lot of fun.
Back in those days, because I did see that you were part of you're first Buffalo person from a nationally recognized team, and that was the Falstaff team.
Right.
And that was back when the Dick Weber days, when we heard of, those great famous teams, which you don't really hear of so much anymore.
I bowled with Falstaff in 1958, and the year before, the Budweiser team won the World Championship. And the next year, which was 58, I was on the team that won I was with the team that won the World Championship with Georgia Barry. So the Falstaff was a very, very popular team, and of course the Budweisers were the greatest.
Right.
Don Carter and Dick Weber, and we had Billy Whaley and Buzz Fazio, Harry Smith, Carl Richards. Well, it was a wonderful experience being a part of the team.
It is, isn't it? Because I know from my years with, the girls I've bowled with, I know how special it is.
Wow, you girls are super good. I mean, I can't believe how good you girls bowl, and you really represented Buffalo area very well.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Probably best in the country, as good as
it was a very special time with a very special team, so I know what it feels like. So you were one of the 25 charter members of the PBA, which is that was 1959.
Well, the year they started in 1959, and Ellie Grant was locally, of course, and Ellie and I were traveling a lot together. And we were one of the first guys to join the PBA, and that's when we started the PBA, 1959. So that was a great, exciting time, because there was no pro bowlers at that time per se, and then we became pros, I guess.
So the team bowling came before the professional bowling.
The team bowling was very big in those days, bigger than ever, and that was everything in team bowling. And then the all-stars and the individual bowling was very important also. If you bowled an ABC tournament, won a tournament or something, that was the best thing you could do to make yourself popular, and to become one of the star players. So I was lucky to be involved with all those fellas. They're wonderful guys to bowl. Had a good time doing it.
Yep.
And we had a great show here in Buffalo. The Beat the Champ show was the biggest show around. We were really a very popular show. And now, Paul and you still here, where you refurbished that show, got that show going again. It's you ought to get a three-game series going.
Oh, I know, that was
wonderful to do. I think the area could use this.
You know what? They should do we should think about a throwback show and have. Like, we can do whatever with those 4 shows, maybe get a 3-game series going or something, because those were, it's a different challenge, bowling 3 games, certainly, than bowling 1.
Well, bowling was more or less like a family sport. The professional bowlers just became popular in 58, 59, where they could make a living bowling. And I was very lucky and fortunate to bowl with Falstaff and be with such great, phenomenal bowlers, and it was very, very big in those days.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
And I think Buffalo was very lucky to have people like the Colburns bowl. All the girls they're so good.
Yep.
Phyllis Totaro was very popular back in those days, where she was probably one of the great new young bowlers that come out in the 50s. But Buffalo's very lucky to have a lot of great Steve Serwinski and the Simon Pure team, and it was just wonderful days of those days.
I think a lot of it was credited to Ben Palumbo keeping the lanes, being very strict about the lane conditions, and everyone who got their high scores, they earned their high scores. I think that's what produced so much good bowlers from this area, is that the lanes were always kept to be a little bit more difficult.
Well, it made the game more competitive, and they kept guarding the making sure the stores were creditable and that the lanes were creditable. Ben Palumbo did it, Bill Marchese, George Obernar, goes way back to George. I was a wonderful man, dedicated his life to bowling. Buffalo was very lucky to have all those great people. Probably a lot of people don't realize how fortunate we were. But
Now you said your first Beat the Champ show was 1955?
55.
So this
Black
goes
and white
way
TV.
back. Chuck Healy, you said.
No color TV. But I bowled Tom Harnish.
Your outfits would have fit in perfectly back then, Sue.
I think Tom,
You mean there's color? I never heard of it.
Yes, there is. That is an option.
No way.
What did the show, Jimmy, sort of mean to cultivate the great bowlers of Buffalo when those guys had the chance to go on and win money and be on TV? How much did that sort of raise the level of bowling in town?
well, it opened a lot of doors. I mean, it afforded me a nice living all those years. I bowled 68 years competitively. That's a long time to be in a sport competitively. But you as a regular bowler and then a senior bowler, we had a senior tour, and bowling is a lifelong sport. Really, here I'm going to be ancient, and I was not able to bowl because I've had some physical problems. But it provides you with a long life of bowling, a sport, playing a sport that's competitive. You can be competitive in the sport. And watching these fellas, young fellas here today, you see young guys at 17, 18, 19, 20 years old playing pretty good players.
Yep.
So bowling is a very competitive sport, and I think probably one of the most played sport of all the sports. Bowling is very popular. And one of the most, maybe second in the world. I think that golf might be more popular, but bowling's been very popular.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who's the best bowler that you ever bowled against nationally and from Western New York, locally?
Well, locally, many guys.
You can give us a couple. You don't have to hold it to one.
Jackie Zach, Steve Sawinski, Ellie Brandt. Buffalo had a lot of great bowlers. Simon Pures were all great bowlers. Gordy McMahon, Jerry Beck. Those names come to mind. Dick Weber, Don Carter. Don Carter was just one of the first big star players that was very popular. Dick Weber had a long life in bowling. Is very popular. Beat Weber, and there's just so many guys. I was very fortunate to rub shoulders with all those fellas.
Right.
And, you learn a lot from each other. Helps each other. Bowling's doing very, very good to many people.
Yeah, well, it's been great to you, Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame member on every other level. Jimmy, what a pleasure it's been to catch up with you and hear some of the stories, and just to think that we're doing a show now that you are on and dates back to the mid-50s is pretty cool for Sue and I to be a part of it.
Well, Ellie Brandt had the record 886 for 39 years. And my buddy, Glenn Allison, shot the first 900. 300, 300, 300. How about that?
Yep.
And he didn't get credit for it, but they still want to give him credit for having the first official 900 series ever. And
equipment was way different then. I mean, we're not talking about the technology that has come into the game over the last 30 years.
Well, in 1958, I bowled a 300 in St. Louis when I joined Falstaff, and I was the only guy to bowl 300 in a year. I mean, the one guy in a year, and all the great bowlers were there.
Right.
It shows you how difficult it was to bowl a 300 game, or perfect game.
Real quick, we're coming down to the stretch, and what's shaping up as a really good match here, as Kevin and Curtis have both had doubles in frames 7 and 8. It remains a single pin match, so this one's going to be decided here in the next couple minutes, and that's a big strike in the 9th frame for Kevin Volker, 3 in a row for him.
Yep, Kevin has, it looks like he's got 9 pins, but we're within a mark. I mean, whoever strikes here, keeps up the strikes, it's anybody's match at this point. Yeah,
both guys muddled a little bit through the first couple of frames with a bunch of spares and some shots that didn't go the way they wanted to, but both guys have started to figure it out here, and these are two outstanding bowlers, and they're putting on a good little show. And Curtis has really struggled with getting that 10 pin down, and the looks on his face a couple of times that you'll notice after that pin goes flying by the 10 is very frustrating for him, you can tell.
Well, it's very different styles here. You see that Curtis is in very deep, covering a lot of boards, and Kevin has found a way to stay to the right, still playing him the way he started. And angle of entry to the pocket is always going to affect your carry. So Curtis is coming in from a big angle, and that could definitely affect the 10 pin being left.
So Curtis will move over to lane 39 here and try to finish this one out and post a score that he hopes will be good enough for Kevin not to catch up to. But again, this one's coming right down to the 10th frame. Just like Jimmy Schroeder and the boys used to do it back in the day, right?
He needs all three here to put any pressure on Kevin. That was a big 10 pin for him there in the 9th frame. That could have been, that was an important frame for him. So now he can post up at 216, and Kevin's already going, you know, he needs a mark for 225, so he's all he can get here.
So this is a big one here. Second roll of the 10th frame for Curtis Foss. Outstanding bowler from up in Niagara County, won a lot of Greater Rochester and Genesee region championships in his career. Just couldn't skirt by and grab the 6 and 10, and that may be a very crucial frame right there for Curtis Foss and might send Kevin Volker on to a victory.
Right. All Kevin needs is 8 count between two balls here to finish this off.
So Curtis finishes off with a 206, and as you mentioned, it's Kevin Volker in his hands to get himself a 3rd consecutive win, a sweep of the week, and a chance to move on to next week's show. So, see, even Jimmy wants us to go back to doing series. We had the same guy win all 3, win 3 matches, so that's as close as we're going to get for you, Jimmy.
And that's
there's
a winner.
A strike that wins it for Kevin Volker. Hey, Jimmy, what a pleasure, what an honor for anybody involved in the sport of bowling to have a chance to hear what you have to say and to get a chance to visit with you. Keep up the good work. Keep going at 90 years old. We want to have you on this show a few more times in the future.
Okay, well, I'll hope I can get back, and I hope I can bowl again.
Well, that would be great. We want to get you bowling again. Jimmy Schroeder, Hall of Fame bowler and one of the great bowlers of all time here in Western New York, joining us at Tonawanda Bowling Center. Kevin Volker with a win, 3 in a row. We'll talk to Kevin and Curtis and see what Kevin's thinking about next week's show when Sue and I return. What a great episode this has been of Beat the Champ. It's a sweep of the week for Kevin Volker, capped off by the win over Curtis Foss, 246 to 206. Boy, you were bowling well. You didn't get a lot of lucky breaks with the 10 pins. And when you had that stretch of a couple strikes sort of late, it looked like you might have been able to find the groove. Take me through that match.
Yeah, it was tough. I struggled carrying the 10 pin, so I tried to make a couple of little bit moves, and then I thought I found a good shot, and then I just found the 10 pin again. So.
Right. We didn't get a chance to talk too much about it during the match, but you've been doing some great work with bowling and some charity work up at the animal shelter. Give a little plug out for that here.
Yeah. Every November at Oak Orchard Bowl, we run a Paws Triples No Tap to help raise money for the Albion Paws Animal Shelter. And last year we raised $1,300, and they use it to help pay the heating bill for the winter, so it helps out a lot, and then gets a lot of exposure for the animals. So.
Awesome. Good stuff, Curtis. And I know we'll have a chance to talk more about it because I know we're going to have Curtis back on the show. This man, the Tonawanda guy, has got the hot streak going, doesn't he, Sue?
Great show you put on here today, Kevin. How much does growing up in this bowling center play into how today went for you?
It helps a lot. I know every pair to pair, what's different about it. And I've been bowling here since I was 4 years old, and the pins have been great to me the entire time. So, yeah, it helped a lot today for sure.
And you were able to make a ball change there and still be able to stay in the same zone, and I think that helped a lot too.
Yeah, I went from a dull pearl just to a shining pearl, and it got down the lane further for me, and luckily it worked because I knew 180 wasn't going to work against Curtis. He's too good of a bowler.
All right, well, that was very smart. Very good bowling today, and good luck going on.
Yeah, ends the match with 6 consecutive strikes. Let's see if he can keep that hot streak going, because we're going to get him on next week's show. We'll get you ready for next week's show when Sue and I come back to wrap up week 1 at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. We're back right after this. Thank you, gentlemen. Curtis, always a pleasure. Well, before we talk about Kevin's bowling, I want to talk about the chance to have Jimmy Schroeder on, and in particular, I could tell how much you admire him and how much he's meant to you in your bowling career. That was outstanding.
Yeah, well, he was easy to talk to. He remembers everything. I wish I remembered what he remembered, but I've known him for a long time, but I've already known him as an older man. So to go back into the 1950s and find out where our sport started, really, he was there for the beginning of it, was fascinating.
Yeah, it really was stuff. Meanwhile, Kevin Volker has bowled great here, and as you asked him just a moment ago, that home center knowledge is huge, and he's taking advantage of it, which not everybody does.
Right, well, as good a bowler as he is, and as good a bowler as he faced, you could tell from sitting back there that his experience here helped, and his growing up and his role and how it matches up. And it's nice to have something like that to talk about, to explain to other people, because sometimes it plays a part, sometimes it doesn't, but in this case it really did.
Yeah, well, it sure did play a part, and it's going to play a part in Kevin coming back after the 3 consecutive wins to next week's show, where we've got some pretty big names he's going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, next week, first up, he's got to bowl against Mike Sarcone, which is a guy who bowls here. So head-to-head, who will have the home team advantage. And then after that, whoever wins that match, we have our 3rd ever female bowler on the show, Carrie, and we'll see how she does in the competition as well.
Yeah, so we're shaping up as a really fun week number 2 in Tana. We got a hot guy in Kevin. We got some big names to challenge him. Make sure you stick around. We'll see you next week on Beat the Champ.